have the physical. Yeah, you can see that. And we have the non-physical. Right? And I'll just for fun, because we should have room, I think. This is our 5 senses. Whoops. I want a different color. There we go. And we want to get rid of that. This is our 5 senses. And I'm just making it easy. I'm going to call this our mind, right? Our thoughts. I'm going to call it our thoughts. Okay. And then there is us. Here we are. There's us. And we call us I am, right? We're not our body. We're not our thoughts. So we're not the physical or the non-physical, although we hang out in them a lot. So it's kind of in the world and not of it, right? So when we play around with this is not who we are, right? So your I am is your soul, your spirit, your higher self, however you wish to label that. Okay. Then we have, oops, I don't want this. I'm going to do this way. We have this thing that we call creative flow, right? So it flows in, like through us, right? Into the physical, through the physical, and then into our 5 senses world, right? So that creative flow. So that creative flow flows through us into the non-physical, which then produces the result in the physical, right? So if we wanted to give it a kind of just a really quick order, we would say the creative flow, right? So that's always flowing, flows through us, right? Into the non-physical, that's where the changes take place, and then we receive the results of that here, right? Creative flow is always present. We enter the picture, then we introduce, and this is what we're going to talk about here, then we introduce some type of catalyst into the non-physical, which then produces change, which we then see manifested in the physical, all right? And so far, probably not a lot of this is really new for a lot of you guys, maybe presented differently. Now, here's the thing that I find. And then this is something that I know for a while, it used to, there'd be like a contradiction in my mind. Because when we talk about confessing, and I'll explain what I mean by that, how I understand that or understood it is, so what you're supposed to do is, I'm going to use health and wellness as an example. So if your body's a mess and somebody asks you how you're doing, and then sort of popular manifesting movements, you're supposed to say, I'm doing great, I'm doing fine. And I mean, I could do that, but it just didn't feel right, because it seemed to just be so much of a contrast between what was physical. And it did this for me. And I think also I was feeling like I wasn't being genuine. So if somebody asked me that and I replied, they're going to look at you like, you're freaking crazy, right? You say you're healthy and wealthy or whatever, and you're broken sick or whatever, right? But we're supposed to confess this. And for quite a while, it caused me. So what do you do with this thing that you're observing right in front of you? That's usually the exact opposite of what you were confessing, right? So what do you do with that, right? So you say this stuff, right? Oh, I'm wealthy, I'm healthy, I'm in a perfect relationship, I'm whatever. But then there's this other physical thing just confronting you all the time. And what are you just supposed to deny it? What is that? How does that work? So then Source Wisdom kind of showed me this clarification just yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. And it just said, okay, that makes perfect sense to me. And for me, in my role as a teacher, is now this is a way that I believe I can communicate this, so you guys can look at it and go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I'm calling it a creative confession. And we're going to put that, oh boy, I have to write all them letters. So a creative confession goes here. Oh, look at me writing all nice and neat. So what we'll be doing is, so Tracy and I, we're going to start from the present and work back, right? So we'll be making an e-course from this broadcast today. And then we'll just kind of keep doing the current ones. And then as we get a chance, we'll just pick up all the stuff from the archives. So a creative confession. So a creative confession goes this way. Okay. So, but where we're making that statement of truth, so we could even call, oh boy, this is going to get busy, but that's okay. We're going to call this creative confession, I think that'll fit, a statement. Now, and here's the clarifier here of a non-physical truth. See, so though this is when you're making that creative confession, it's coming. So 1, step 2, this is you. So when you're confessing that, both internally, but also speaking it out, this is so powerful, speaking it out, because when you speak it out, you are actually now activating stuff in the 5 senses world because it's audible. Right? So we don't just have that picture inside of us, that dream, that desire, or using our internal I am statement. So I am healthy, I am whatever, right? When we use that audible voice, we're actually introducing catalysts, not only in the non-physical, but we're making the statement in the physical, right? Because we're using our audible voice. And I think that's what's so powerful, is because you're making a statement based upon that non-physical truth, right, which is here, and you're combining that by doing it audibly here. Now, you are not saying that this non-physical truth applies to this. You see? And this is the thing. This truth that you're expressing applies to the non-physical. Now, I understand that the normals aren't going to know that, and that's okay. What's important, you do. And so what's important is that your affirmations, I call them your I am statements, that your confession, you're kicking out, especially if you're introducing change, those confessions are based upon this very true statement in your non-physical, and you're stating that verbally here, right? I am healthy. My allergy is gone. I don't know, whatever it is, right? I am in a perfect relationship. I am whatever, right? But you're stating it physically as well. But when you're stating it physically, you're not referring to this. You're just taking a physical representation of the non-physical truth. Okay, you see how that works? This is for me what's so important, right? Is that you're not saying that this truth is out here yet. You're saying it's true here, and you're giving it physical expression here. Like I say, in the e-course, Tracy is really good at this. Give you some bulleted study notes to go with that, right? Okay, so that makes sense, right? So you've created your desire, right? And then when you speak out, you're speaking out based upon the non-physical truth, not the physical, the non-physical truth. And then you're speaking out from that. And on the radio show last night, I'll pull it into the e-course so you can listen to it once it's up and running. This one's done. In some examples, well, I'll just give you a really quick one. Oh, that was cool. There's Tate. See, that's perfect. Excellent. Good for you. So you're stating an internal truth, because you're probably a couple $100 away from millionaire at this point. Right? You're stating that internal truth. And I think you see that's the thing. And we're not being hold on, there we go. It's gonna pull us up sometimes there. You're not being disingenuous. You're not being delusional, right? You're not even saying that the physical isn't here. What you're saying is, I choose to live from this internal truth, not from the external representation of it. See, that's the thing, right? I choose to live from this non-physical truth, and my speech and my actions, both of which in the physical, right, to the best of my ability, are going to come from my non-physical truth, not from what I see in my physical world. So when I wake up in the morning, right, I would look here and observe, and then respond and verbalize that either internally or externally. There are no new registrations, which gives validity and power to this, and actually causes that to replicate over and over and over again. Or, while that is still true in the physical, I could focus here and make a creative confession based on a non-physical truth, right? I'm so happy, fulfilled, blah, blah, blah. I have full workshops as far as I can see. You see, and I think this is where the contradiction disappeared. I'm not saying that this isn't here. That's the thing. I'm not saying that isn't there in that moment, but I get to choose whether I respond with this passive observation or whether I choose to use a creative confession based upon this non-physical truth. Thanks for that, Trace. I got to look over here more often. There we go. And for me, that's what's so important, is that right now, you've probably got this bit of a dichotomy. You have that non-physical desire, and it's probably not being expressed here yet. And so there's this wrestling match, right? Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So understand that they're two separate things for our purposes here, right? And you get to choose. And we don't realize the power of that choice, whether we observe and then we express that observation, again, either internally or externally, or whether we observe this and go, I'm going to have a creative confession based upon that non-physical truth that is just as true as this. It just hasn't shown up here. See, that's that whole creative flow, right? The creative flow goes this way. So what I'm doing by feeding that, by stating that truth, is I'm actually cooperating with the creative flow, right? That's what's so powerful about this, is you're cooperating now with the creative flow. When you're in this passive observation, you're actually going against the flow, and that's why it just tends to spin like this. And you're not going to see a whole heck of a lot of change. I think a lot of times, I'm going to go back to here, I'm going to wrap up. I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter. I think a lot of times what's derailing a lot of our stuff, our manifesting efforts, is internal, but also that external confession, right? Even when there's nobody looking, right? Maybe when there's nobody looking, that's the best time to walk around your house or wherever, right? And verbalize those creative confessions. Even though your body may hurt, your bank account may be empty, your perfect relationship ain't nowhere to be seen, whatever, right? Just have the audacity to go trouncing around your house or in the shower and verbalize this. I am in my perfect relationship, right? My body is healthy and whole and flexible, right? My bank account is full, right? My debts have been eliminated, whatever, right? But you're making that verbal confession because you're cooperating with the creative flow. You're not denying what's out here, but you're saying, I choose to live from a different truth. And I think that's why this is such a big deal for me. I think this is one of the prime reasons we don't see the fullness of what we're designed to see.